Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 222. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 7 p.m. You can go drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join in on the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week. First broken out topic by topic and put is one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you guys can support, likes, reviews, subs, whatever it is, it may seem small, but does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you. Today, playing a little catch up because I've been away. I am so sorry. We're going to be doing 4 topics today. Wide variety of stuff, talking some games, talking some movies. So let's jump on into it. Let's talk some indie games that I've been playing kind of since our last podcast. Just on my own off stream. Well, I guess one was on stream. So let's talk about those. Just some kind of quick thoughts, feelings about those experiences. Let's start off with one we actually did play on stream, is Haunty. Now, Haunty, if you guys don't know this game, we did play it briefly on a Steam Next Fest last year. I don't know, they all kind of blend. But Haunty is a kind of shoot 'em up, kind of go around collectathon game where you're this little ghost named Haunty, and you find a little angel friend, and she tries to help you kind of go to the afterlife. And you follow her, you hold hands, you go whee, and you're flying up into the sky, and then all of a sudden chains start whoosh, whoosh, going up and grabbing you, bringing you back down to purgatory, it seems. And doesn't allow you to kind of move on to the next plane of existence, heaven, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. And your whole purpose in this game is to get back to your angel friend, and along the way also kind of figure out like who you were as a person, and like discover these memories about yourself. So we had the opportunity to play this on stream, had a great time with it. Like I said, it's a collection-based game, so throughout the game that you're playing, there's 4 different areas with a bunch of different levels in them. But it's kind of almost like Super Mario 64. Granted, I have very limited experience with that, so let's maybe compare it to Super Mario Sunshine, where there's a lot of different stars that you could get as you go into the level, but you have to kind of solve those things differently. Like, oh, maybe this time you got to do a little relay race. This time you got to go talk to this character and retrieve something for them. And there's those little challenges throughout. Unlike 64 or Sunshine, where they kind of kick your ass out of the level after you accomplish one. This one is just, you're in the area, go around, try and find these things. There's 5 of these star fragments, I believe they're called. Go solve those things, try and collect as many of them as you want to a certain point before you progress on to the next level, the next section. And what these stars do is you can build constellations using them, and if you build a constellation, it allows you to see a memory of your character as they were alive, whether they're a child, an adult, whatever it is. You kind of get to see their life unfold and learn more about yourself. So that's the base gameplay there. There are other things that you can collect. I believe one section has leaves that you can collect. Oh, I'm blanking on other ones, but there's like this other currency that you can collect to use to get like little hats for your character, and other unlockables as you go through. So in the gameplay aspect, it's just that collectathon. There are moments in the game where you'll run into enemies, whether it's a big boss when you're trying to finish an area, or just little enemies randomly here and there that you can defeat, or they'll try and be your obstacle that you need to defeat, rather. And that's where the shoot 'em up element comes in. It's kind of like a twin stick shooter. Just aim, blast them, go from there. Along with that, you can also, because you're a ghost, you can haunt stuff. So you can possess different objects, whether it's a mountain, a tree, different little characters around that are trying to help you throughout, that have maybe special abilities, where they can jump super high, or they carry a little lantern so you can go in the darkness. You can possess those guys to help try and solve some of those puzzles to get the star fragments or the other collectibles along the way. Overall, it's a very fun time. It's chill. It's a nice chill experience. A shorter one too. Didn't overstay its welcome. I enjoyed playing it. I think I was expecting a little bit more out of it in terms of an emotional response. When I saw the announcement trailer for this, and I don't remember when that was, but it was some point last year, I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of like a sad boy game. Like, this is going to make me cry and do something. Like, it's going to affect me in some way. And I don't feel like it really hit that point ever again. You hit that that point in the trailer, as we talked about, like getting separated from your little angel friend early on in the game. And it never really reached that high again of like emotional weight behind it. I found it interesting finding the different memories for your character and like learning of their past, but it was never super duper clear what happened to them, if they just, lived their life naturally and it was natural causes that they died. I didn't know if the angel was like a connective tissue to your character. It's kind of alluded to here and there that your character had this relationship in their lifetime, and I thought maybe the angel character was supposed to be them, but it never felt like this big reunion or anything like that. It just felt like, I think the story they were trying to tell is like, you need to let go of your memories, let go of that humanity that you have left in order to move on to the afterlife. And all these other ghosts that you run into and interact with and chat with, they're refusing to do that, and they feel like the angel characters are bad because they're trying to assist them to that afterlife, and they're like, nah, we're cool here, we're chilling. So while I enjoyed my time with it, it's probably just me putting that on the game of like, I was expecting more of that tugging of the heartstrings a little bit, and story there. So that's probably more on me. I would still recommend it to people. I think the art style is phenomenal. A little kind of hand-drawn, but very cute and fluid motions through everything. Like I said, it's a shorter experience too, so it's not one of those things where it's like all this heavy investment and then it just fizzles at the end. I don't think it was a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. It just was like, yeah, that was fine. I didn't get personally what I wanted out of it fully, but that also could have been just my expectation from what they put out there with that announcement trailer. I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more, but Haunty was a great time. If you want something cute, you want something to, as we've talked about before in the past, kind of turn your brain off to, do that collecting. There is that narrative that you can pay attention to, but it's not like if you don't pay attention, you're going to miss everything, one of those. It's a fun game overall. Moving on to our next game. This one's going to be a very quick one because I just haven't put a lot of time into it. It's Pacific Drive. This one came out last year. It is a driving survival game. And I know that's a weird kind of combination to put together, but that is what I've picked up from it. So the story here is you're stuck in like a quarantine zone. For some reason, you get zapped into this quarantine zone after driving too close to the area. Excuse me. And inside this zone, there's a lot of experimentation done. And there's all these like storms and anomalies that are happening in this area. When you land there, you get contacted by some of the scientists or people that are stranded, still living in this zone, that whoever caused this just left behind because they didn't want to deal with it. You get contacted by them, and they are kind enough to try and help you like get to safety and figure out what you need to do to even try and escape this place. And the whole gameplay loop here is you go out on runs essentially, and you are trying to gather resources to improve your car, which is a station wagon. You're improving those things to eventually try and find your way deeper and deeper into the storm to try and like get and find a way out of this quarantine zone. It's a strange game. I enjoyed the concept behind it, I thought it would be a lot more fun. And maybe it's just my small brain, but there is a lot of information this game throws at you, and it is very confusing. What resources do what is the like goal of all of this, and what are you trying to achieve in all these runs? Like, should I be getting a certain resource? When I find certain things, it's not super clear of like what to do with it, how to transfer it, how to enhance what I'm working on. And I found that just a little discouraging when getting into it, of just that understanding. If it's not too hard, but if it doesn't have that good translation aspect to it, it's like, you're kind of holding me back from playing this in a way. So that's where I kind of hit the wall with Pacific Drive. I think the elements and the areas that you're going in and what it's trying to do with its environmental storytelling is really cool. It was just making that gameplay loop fun and understanding. So yeah, you essentially just go into levels, take your little station wagon, and you're like just going to different houses, ransacking them essentially for these scraps and materials. And then when you're ready, you activate kind of like a teleporter to get back to your garage, which is like your home base. But when you're doing it, as you're driving throughout these little mini maps, levels, whatever it is, the anomalies are there. So the anomalies could be, now granted it was early, so there's probably going to be even crazier ones, but there could be spikes that just randomly, kind of shoot up in different areas. There could be like a lightning storm. There could be little mannequin-looking people that if you run into, jolt your car. There were spike balls, which I believe they're called bunnies, but they would hop like tumbleweeds around the map, and they would latch onto your car and cause like malfunctions. So you'd have to shake them off. There was randomly like similar to Watson from Apex Legends, how she puts those little electric fences up. There'd be random ones of those where you'd have to like disconnect them or figure out a way around them to get through the map. So you'd have these different obstacles that you'd have to deal with, the anomalies. But then also, once you're ready and you trigger the teleporter, it's like, okay, you got to drive to this exit point. And then once you activate this, the storm, similar to Fortnite, like closes in on you. And you got to get to that exit point before you die in the storm and it swallows you whole. And boy, is that stressful. In your little station wagon, going off-road jumps, bumps, dodging the anomalies, whatever it is. You're just like, shit, going around. It can get kind of hectic. So yeah, I don't know if it's just like one of those things I gotta try again and really just kind of be in that zone of like, all right, I gotta pay attention to what they're saying and not get confused by all the lingo and things they're throwing at me. It seemed like it would scratch that itch for me of kind of that game of just like collect, upgrade, go from there. But yeah, it was just too much for me. And there's a lot of mechanics to it as well, along with the upgrade system and the materials. Like your car, you can get in and out of the car at any point. You drive to the location, get out, get your thing. You got to put the car in park. You got to turn the lights on. You got to put it in drive. Whatever. There was a few times I got out of my car just like, I'm going to keep the car on, keep it running, and go in, look, and get the little things and come back. I would just get out and I forgot to put it in park and it just starts rolling away. I'm like, no, come back. So it's, you and that car are like tied together intrinsically. You need each other. So to have it just roll away from you it was it just made me laugh. So yeah, Pacific Drive, there was elements of I liked it. It just did not connect with me fully in terms of my thought level, I guess you could say, my understanding. So I want to give it another try at some point, but right now I'm just like, that's too much information. I don't need to study for a college exam to understand this. Moving on to our next game. This one I'll talk about very briefly as well because I haven't put a lot of time into it. And it didn't connect with me for a different reason. But it's a more recent title. It's called Thank Goodness You're Here. Now, I was looking forward to this one. Played it on my recent trip out to Colorado. It was kind of my game to kind of zone out while traveling. Thank Goodness You're Here is a very cute game in its art style. It's very colorful, cartoony, hokey in the best way possible, like crazy things happening. And the way it was presented is this is a task-based game where you are just going and helping out the citizens of whatever this town is. And it's just like quick, funny little task that they'll give you and they need your help with, right? Go gather this. I have a blockage here. Can you help me fix this? This shop is closed. I need it to be open so I can get this resource. Whatever it is. And it was fine. It's very, very crude in its humor. It's like British comedy, Task Manager. It didn't catch on to me. There's no tracker for your quests. You're just kind of walking around and hoping you run into stuff. I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are enjoying this. To me, I was just like, there's something going on here. It's a disconnect. Granted, there could have been some outside factors in terms of the traveling that could have been affecting that. But I didn't get it at all. I was just like, yeah, this is funny and weird. I don't know what to do. I don't know where am I supposed to go? Anything. It is another shorter experience. So if you want to try it out, and just kind of, laugh at the stupidity and weird situations that you get your character into, I'd say it's worth it. Maybe wait for a sale with it being a shorter thing. But yeah, I was like, I'm not understanding the appeal of this right now. Whatever. Last game I want to talk about is we talk about zone out games for a lot of things of just like, those games you turn your brain off and it's entertaining. It's a fun experience, even though you don't have to pay too much attention to what you're doing. And the game I'm about to talk to nails that on the head. It's Brotato. Now, Brotato is a shoot 'em up survival akin to Vampire Survivors. So I don't know why it's called Brotato. Your characters look like eggs. But you're just this little egg dude. There's a wide variety of characters. Some you unlock when you defeat the game with other characters, similar to like a Castle Crashers. But they all have different stats and modifiers of things that they do better or they do worse than other characters. And essentially what it is 20 waves of enemies, and you are just surviving till wave 20. And you get a wide variety of different guns and weapons, from an SMG to a little cactus branch to just your fists to a missile launcher to whatever they throw at you. And you just take your little egg guy, and over time you are upgrading them with weapons, whether it's leveling up your weapons, gaining new weapons, improving their stats from their damage to their elemental damage to their dodge, their armor, their max health, their health regeneration, and using that and trying to survive shooting all the enemies around you. Not necessarily killing all of them, but just making sure you last that 60 seconds, that 30 seconds, depending on the wave, surviving that timer to get to the next wave, to then upgrade, to do it all over again for the 20 waves. This game has been a lot of fun. It's very chill vibe, zone out too. Like I've been playing it a bunch while Lady and I've been watching some shows and stuff like that, or if I'm just trying to zone out before falling asleep or whatever it is. Somehow I have put 90 hours in this game. Goddamn. It's very fun. It's very chill. It's stupid in the best way of like, how is this something that's getting so much of my time and attention? It's one of those games where the hours just kind of melt away in the best way possible. Similar to a Hades and like games of that nature where it's just like, all right, gonna do it again, just another run. Difficulty wise, I did hit a little bit of a wall initially, but it's one of those things, even though the characters have their different modifiers, it's like, okay, I know what I'm aiming for here. Whether it is strategic or it's just like, you know what, I really like this weapon set. I really like the SMGs. I really like the elemental damage with flamethrowers or whatever it is. Once you find what works for you, granted, it may not work for all the characters because the stat stuff, but if you know what you're aiming for, you can kind of make those similar builds regardless of class. I think since that initial hump of difficulty of trying to beat it for the first time on difficulty 0, I think there's 5 difficulties in this, it's been not a cakewalk, but I've defeated it with, I don't know how many characters there are. I want to say there's 30, but let's say I've beaten it so far with like 15 of them throughout, and just that base difficulty. Throughout the 5 difficulties, I think I've gotten up to difficulty 4 with one of the characters and trying it out there. I was playing it actually earlier today. I think I got like halfway through that difficulty. So it's a lot of fun. I would recommend it. When I bought it, it was pretty inexpensive. I think we're talking single digits. So if you need something where you can just, once again, zone out, turn your brain off, kind of get that adrenaline rush, not adrenaline rush, but get those endorphins pumping. That melatonin, is that the happy feelings? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but get those good vibes from it and feel like you're doing something. That's a game I highly recommend. And also with the shooting and all that stuff, you have options. Default, this is automatic shooting. It's just going to shoot or attack the people closest to you. You can turn on manual if you want to do that, similar to a twin stick shooter. Totally up to you. So you could be as involved or not involved as you want with this. You do have to move. I will give you that. So you will at least have that where you're not just sitting in a corner just blasting everybody. But in terms of a difficulty spike, it's not going to be huge in terms of brain power of what you need to do. It's just going to be a matter of maneuvering, kiting all the enemies around, doing that kind of stuff. So Brotato, I would highly recommend. Never thought I'd be saying that, but it was a lot of fun. So if you like the Vampire Survivors type games, this is another one to put on your list. Moving on to topic 2, let's talk some WWE 2K24. Let's talk some GM mode. Now, those of you guys who don't know, when I play the WWE games, or at least the most recent 2K releases, GM mode has been where I put like 95% of my time in playing, whether it's on my own, with friends, family. GM mode is pretty much the mode that takes up my time with those games. And I absolutely love it. I love that they brought the game mode back, and I think the changes, or rather the way 2K has presented it and built it, not just copy pasting what they did in SmackDown versus Raws of old, but making it their own. I've really appreciated what 2K's done so far with the mode in their build. But there's always things that can improve. And we're back at it. I know we did this last year at some point. But I wanted to talk about hopes and improvements for GM mode for 2K25. I don't know, obviously, in terms of the grand scheme of things, like the player base, where the percentage. Obviously, I know a lot of people play Showcase at the beginning. I know a lot of people do Universe mode. Online matches, when they work. My faction, it's a very controversial mode. We'll talk about that at some other time. But GM mode, I don't know what the percentage of player base plays it, but it always seems like this mode, when patch notes come out, this mode gets nothing. No TLC, or very limited. And it's like, damn, that sucks. And it's not that the game mode's broken by any means. It definitely works, but there are certainly some areas that it could improve, some bugs that have not been fixed, and selfishly some things I'm just like, that'd be cool if they have. So I just want to talk about it quickly. What could be improved in this mode, what needs to be improved in this mode, and maybe some hopes for down the line. So let's talk about bugs to start off. We'll start negative and we'll work our way into the positives. Some bugs that I've noted recently, and granted, this first one may have been a change that they made. I don't remember seeing it anywhere, but it perhaps could be something that they adjusted to try and make it a little bit more of a balanced experience, which, if so, totally fine with. I just didn't see it posted anywhere clearly. When you win a season, you and your opponents are going after each other, competing to book your shows, your pay-per-views, build your stars up, get more fans being the ultimate currency here. And when you win the season by having the most fans, first place would get a trophy. Woo! And then the ultimate goal is get 10 of those trophies through various means of the game mode to reach the Hall of Fame, and that's how you would win, right? They used to have it where if you got that first place, you would get a trophy because you had the most fans and you got the first place. That would be awarded to you. I don't know if they changed it for balance reasons so people wouldn't like slingshot ahead too much and make a giant gap, as we had talked about, I believe, in last iterations improvements thing. But they seem to have gotten rid of that. And it's fine. It's just stressful when it's super close and then you don't have that knowledge. I had that in my most recent playthrough where I wasn't sure if it was a bug or whatever, but those trophies weren't being rewarded. I'm like, what's going on? So take that one with a grain of salt. Maybe it was something they decided to pick out. Maybe it wasn't. But having the knowledge, thinking that was the case, then for it to not happen, yikes. Now this one, these next two, which are the only ones that I have in terms of bugs, these ones for sure happen. The first one and the biggest ones, but sometimes power cards used against you will activate for 2 weeks in a row. Now, usually they give you this indicator that power card has been used on you through the little visual of like character A, rather GM A, and you. A little whoosh indicator comes across the screen, shows that you've been hit with a double cost, or using the most basic arena this week, or a contract has been taken off by 1 week, whatever it is. They'll show that, oh, I got hit with it, whatever. I've noticed in most of my playthroughs that the 2 times cost for power cards, that little card you can use to against your opponents, that activates twice. For some reason, it will hit you the week prior without showing the animation, and then the next week it will show the animation and it will do it again. And the way you know this is because your email system will tell you, hey, something's going on with power cards this week. They cost double some union thing or whatever Triple H says to you. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Obviously, that's a tool the game can use to, use strategy against you or whatever it is. But when it pops up, it's just like, what week is it? I didn't see anything pop up against me. This sucks, dude. So to have it pop up twice, it's a little annoying. I don't know if it's just a CPU to, human player thing. I haven't noticed it with a human-to-human player gameplay. But yeah, it's just a little silly that one seems to go into effect 2 times in a row. And then the last one, may be a bug, may not be a bug, but title matches. Sometimes title matches, when you have them, the title will not switch hands from the title holder to the new champion if that person wins. Now, granted, this could be a moment of disqualification for wrestling fans. We know if you get DQ'd in a title match, title doesn't change hands, the person keeps it. It could be that. I've had it run into the instance where it is a normal match, doesn't change. It's a special match where there is no DQ on, it doesn't change. It's been so frustrating because you're like, so-and-so is actually supposed to be the champion, and then you're like trying to work it in your brain. Now I gotta, well, you don't have to, but you're like, I gotta fix a match now to get it to the right person so it's in their hands. Figure it out. My only ask, well, 1, fix that if it is a bug. 2, if it is because a title change doesn't happen because of a disqualification, right? Totally fine. That I'm glad that they implemented that into the logic. I don't want to be reading every match report just to know what went down in the match, where they describe, oh, so-and-so had a strong lead, but then this person turned it around and they used their finisher and before somebody did the interference, whatever it is. I don't want to have to read every match report and summary to know what's going on, especially if you're playing with friends. That is a lot of time commitment that is used up there if you're going to go in and check each individual match to know every exact thing. If you have the time, great. Of course, that option is there for you to really read those details, be super analytical. That's great. But sometimes it's just like, oh, there's my star value, and then you're on to the next thing. If a title change does not happen due to DQ, I think that should be more of a clear indicator in the match results. Like, so-and-so won by DQ. You'll have it where you have the two characters aligned in the match card. Match will go, whether you simulate it, whatever it is. Simulate it in this experience because you're not watching it. But you'll simulate it. Superstar A will come to the front. This person won, and it will just say they won. It will say your results at the bottom, which has been a huge change of like, this rivalry grew, someone's injured, whatever it is. Those will toggle at the bottom, but it doesn't say how they won, So I think you could just add something to that if it is a disqualification, won by DQ, won by submission, won by pinfall, whatever it is. You could just add that small detail there. I think that would be nice, just so we don't have to dig for those details and wonder, oh, why didn't this person get the championship? Whatever it is. I know it's a small thing, but it's really annoying, especially when you can't go back to those results to then clarify, or you can't go back to, I don't know, whatever it is, to confirm. You can't go back and confirm what actually happened. That's the frustrating part. If it was something where you could check your previous week's results, go in, deep dive after, and be like, oh, Bianca Belair caused a DQ, that's why she didn't lose her title, that would have been a nice thing to know, instead of just everything's up in the air, something didn't work, whatever it is. That would be my kind of hope in terms of just being clear to the player what happened in that. Why didn't things work properly in terms of what should have happened? So there's that. So let's go now into the hopes, the dreams, things like that. So we talked about this last time, but your roster randomness. Now, GM mode is a beautiful mode because it allows you to use custom rosters. Similar to your universe mode, you can download characters off of the community creations, get superstars who maybe just their vintage, maybe they're like different attires, or Seth Rollins in a Shield gear, or you can get different legends that aren't in the game, or you can even get wrestlers from different companies, whether it's TNA, AEW, whatever it is. Download them to the game through the awesome community creation and those guys over there. Download them and put them into your custom rosters for GM mode. Now, personally, what I do is I like making things as accurate as possible to what current day WWE is. So I'll have my SmackDown and Raw superstars. Those are my active superstars. If somebody's been unfortunately released from the company, I'll make them contracted superstars. I'll modify any legends in there. That a little bit is more pick and choose. Just like, who can I think of? I don't know. I'll throw them in there. And then my local talent, I'll have that be the NXT people. And I'll take away all the creative superstars that the game provides for that local talent. But that's how I'll build my roster. Now, obviously, WWE games, there's like 200 wrestlers, superstars per game, right? And then to add all these other components on top of that into these custom rosters, sometimes you don't really get to see everybody in your custom roster just because of the size. So to add a little bit more randomness into the draft pools or the talent scout things that they added this year would be nice. I feel like there's a lot of times where the biggest thing here, I'm going to sneeze, heads up, just in case. Excuse me. Jeez. I think the biggest thing here sometimes I run into is like tag teams, for example. Great. We got the Usos, hypothetically. They're back to working together. Who knows? You can find one Uso, but then the other Uso doesn't show up or they're never found. You can see that across all the tag teams, I feel, which is a big thing. And then sometimes it's just like, oh, I added a bunch of these superstars here, and then you never see them. And it's just really disappointing because obviously you want to see those new elements. Now, I know you could be, just saying like, oh, well, your roster's too big in your draft pool. And I get it. I definitely get that. Not that criticism, but that point that's being brought up. It's just unfortunate to not have that option, because then it's like, all right, well, who do I go in and cut? And maybe I don't use those people in my roster, but if I am playing a multiplayer game, I want to give those options to people, or give it to the CPU and be like, oh, well, shit, Santos Escobar's world champion for the other brand. They're doing really good, whatever it is. It's fun to see those different elements that the CPU will play around with, or the other players will play around with. That's fun. So I at least like giving the options there. So if we could somehow make it so the discoverability of certain superstars is better, that would be nice. I do think it's improved with segmenting out the ring levels and stuff, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment here. But it still feels like it is a search and a hunt to find some people. Now, talking about the talent scout system and the ring level. So this was a new mechanic they added to this year's GM mode. So ring level was like your wrestler's experience in the ring. By competing in matches, they improve. And this would carry over from season to season, where your characters would constantly improve, maybe get to level 25, which is like legend status. And I think with them, I don't know if it gives them any stat boost in terms of like their popularity or their stamina, but what it would do is every 5 levels that they gained, you had the option as the GM of 2 other options in there to be like, okay, how do I want this superstar to be? Do I want them to use less stamina? Do I want them to have a less chance of injuring themselves? Do I want them to have another class that they can change into? And then I recently got to level 25, but those ones are really cool and kind of unique buffs that you could give them. And it just kind of made a little bit more interesting of an appeal to each of the characters as you had them. I think the ring level stuff, that's been cool. That's been a nice thing that, carries over. It feels like that RPG mechanic of leveling up and investing into your superstars makes it more worth it, kind of rewards you a little bit more. That's been great. The Talent Scout system, on the other hand, has been, in my opinion, a little bit of a mixed bag. So what the Talent Scout system is, in previous GM modes, it was you have your roster tab, you have manage roster, which is your current active roster, and then you would have, I don't remember what they would call it, but they would have like free agents and they would have a legends pool. And each of those pools would give you 15 names, maybe 20 on those tabs. And if you want to hire them, you can hire them. And it's got a random assortment of those classes or those statuses based on what you defined, right? I think in the free agent pool, it had like 10 people who were higher level contracts, and then 5 to 10 of the local talent. And then the legends were just whoosh, all the legends. And they could be random popularities, random classes, if they're a good guy or a bad guy, male and female superstars, all mixed in there. And you kind of just test your luck like, hey, I actually need a bad guy giant right now. Oh, cool, there's one here. Hire him, It was a way to build your roster, kind of fix yourself or help yourself in a pinch if somebody got hurt, or maybe you just needed somebody to change up a rivalry, whatever it is. It was a nice system, but it was limited to that randomness per week. You couldn't search for anybody if you're like, oh, I really want Rhea Ripley on my roster. You couldn't find her. You just had to hope and pray that she would show up in that random pool and hope that nobody else drafted her. So what they tried to do here with the Talent Scout system is it's still random, but every week, everybody is just thrown together. Local superstars, contracted superstars, legends, pretty much anybody who didn't get drafted that year. They're all thrown in the same pool. And each week, you get 5 talent points or talent scout points that you can use. And you have this search bar criteria. Okay, you can search for male or female. That will cost you a point. Good guy, bad guy, that will cost you a point. Their class will cost you a point. And then also their ring level, 0 to 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, blah, 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 all the way to 25, right? You could fill in that criteria however you wanted. The more specific you got, the more talent scout points it costs, or you could be generic with it and it could just cost 1 or 2 depending on the ring level mainly. Search that and it would pop up or populate 4 superstars. You would default with 4 wrestlers anyway, typically your low levels and your local talent, right? It would give you a default 4. Every time you search, it would give you another 4. Unless you were doing 2 specific criteria, it would only fill 2 or 1, or it would be like, sorry, champ, that's not even an option. I like that you can search for I liked that you could search for those particular components. Like, I really need a cruiserweight right now. I just need to fill this void that I have. I need a male, I need a good guy, I need a cruiserweight. Boom. I liked that you could do that. What I didn't like is that you had no idea if you were looking, once again, for specific people. I have no idea what ring level people are. I have no idea where they're aligned in everything. I just wish it gave you more options. And I know you don't want to just be like, all right, here's the whoosh encyclopedia of everybody who's not hired, and you just boop, 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 go through. I get the random element adds a little bit more excitement into it when you're like, oh, I really found the person I want. Whatever it is, I get that. I just maybe just give us a little bit more instead of just the 4 in there. And I also appreciate if they separated out, perhaps like they did have the classes of like, these are your local people, these are your higher level contracts, these are your legends. Now I get it, if you want those higher level people, you just put the ring level at higher. It just sucks to only get 4, so maybe getting more of them would be better, just to have more options. I don't know, I like it. It's just sometimes it's frustrating. So I don't know. It's not like, oh, this is trash, throw it out. I just think it needs a little bit of tweaking. And obviously I'm not the best at verbalizing what those tweaks should be. It's just a little frustrating at times because, like, you can, when you customize your roster, to circle back to this point, which is awesome. And I love that you can do this with the custom rosters. You can change most elements of there in that area. Once again, change their status, contract, active, local, maybe not inactive, people you just don't want in there. You could change their default class, you can change their default popularity, the default stamina. You can change all these things. What you can't change is their ring level, which this is going to come in a 1-2 punch here, and I know we've talked about this. So you can't change the ring level. So seeing that roster list, I can't even think of it right now, but whether it's editing the roster list or it's your roster list that you're drafting from in the initial draft for sure, they have their ring level there. But I can't remember if it's in custom roster. But am I expected to memorize what numbers these people have if I really want to search out, oh, such and such wasn't in the draft, I want to find them? Crap, are they a 15 ring level or a 10 ring level? That gets a little frustrating. Maybe it's just me picking, really being nitpicky with that. But that's just something I wish we could do, especially in terms of a dream scenario simulation type game, to make your dream rosters and have them play out this way, unlike a universe mode where, I don't want to play the matches or set up every individual thing that universe mode has to offer. And the storyline aspect, I wish they had this. Now, speaking of ring levels, I'm going to go back to custom rosters for a second. big improvement that I would appreciate for 2K25. If we're going to keep ring level, which I think we should, because I think that's been a fun mechanic, like I mentioned, of that RPG improvement element. If we're going to keep it, please allow us to edit the base settings in the custom roster page. We talked about this, I believe, shortly after 2K24's release, so this may be rehashing a point, so sorry. Rey Mysterio, obviously, legend, right? If I put him in the active roster, he's costing me $500,000 to hire this man immediately. It doesn't line up with the rest of the superstars. If I add custom superstars, poor Naomi. I downloaded Naomi off the character community creations, excuse me. Shout out to that creator. I don't know who you are, but there's a lot of people who probably made her. This poor woman is at a 0 ring level. Can I please improve her to try and put her in a 10, 12, somewhere that makes a little bit more sense? Anyone with your custom roster that you download is like this and is random. And if someone out there who is involved with community creations, I make custom superstars, all this stuff. If you know what elements your creations, how those affect the ring level, because there are some people I download, they have a 5, they have a 10, they line up to, they have some sort of value. I have no idea how to affect or change those. And it's just very frustrating to have like a legend who's a 5. No, I want them to be that higher echelon, that level, to make them feel special. Like, oh, I hired a legend. Similar to ones of the past, they get a popularity boost, whatever it is. There's no way to tweak that right now. So just to have, it takes that element of fun out of it, of like, oh, cool, I added all these people who are these NXT people who didn't make the game, or the current superstars who just came in. Oh, great, but they're not going to make it to the game. And then there's zeros. It's like, well, why do I want to use them? It's going to take forever to level them up, and then my show's going to suffer for it because popularity's ass. It's just very frustrating there. So keep the ring levels, but please let us edit those as well in some way or fashion. That would be very appreciated. Last one that I have is very selfish. Bigger roster, more match slots. Just make me, I want to make more matches. I know that's more aspects to manage in terms of stamina levels and salaries and money and whatnot. I just have a lot of fun. I love having a big roster, especially if you are going to do tag teams. You need a bigger roster, and boy, does it get frustrating when it's like, all right, well, I got my main tag team who are going after the tag team titles, and then you got the third, like, tertiary team, and you're like, how do I keep you guys popular? You can't fight these guys because the rivalry cooldown, and then if I get another tag team, it's just like, where do I put you in? It's tough balancing it with the limited amount of slots. It's like, I don't know how to make a tag team. I can't have a division because they're not enough spots, and then it's like, why do I even use these belts? And then I get yelled at because they're all single matches every week. I know, it's really getting into the weeds. It's the silly stuff. I just wish, from my standpoint, the ability to have a bigger roster and to have more matches throughout. They did improve this, or rather tweak that, in the initial launch, 2K22. I think so. When the mode was introduced, I do appreciate that. And this is a big thing overall. I do appreciate the work that they do have, or they have put in year after year after year. This is a big undertaking for any team to, let's take this mode that has all these components, build it from scratch, make it our own as well. I know it's a big undertaking, and I do appreciate the TLC that I have seen from the yearly releases. So it's not like, they're just kind of throwing this together. I don't think that at all. It's just one of those things that I've noticed is they give options of how you want to play, and I do appreciate that, and I think this could be another layer to that. If you want to only play, like, assign or build 4 matches a week, great. They can give that to you. If you want to do more, I would hope they could give that to us. And we've seen that with the gameplay options that they have already. You got your difficulty sliders, you got your monetary sliders. You can give like 3,750,000 for your initial budget. You do 2 million for your initial budget. You can do match unlocks now, or you can just everything's unlocked, go crazy. I like that they give those options to us. I hope that in the future they give us more, because that's really, it's really appreciated. Give the players options, play how you want to play, have fun with it. That is what I really like. So mine is just, can we have more money and more match slots, please? That would be nice. But that's all I got for 2K25 GM mode. Hopes, improvements, stuff like that. This is just, like I said, it's the game mode that I go into, spend most of my time playing it throughout the year. It's just some tweaks that I hope to see. Once again, I appreciate that the mode is back. I know Up, Up, Down, Down probably had a huge part of that, just doing their YouTube channel stuff with the GM modes of old. It's probably not going anywhere with their continued support and streaming of it and whatnot. I just, let's keep building it together. You're doing a great job, 2K, in terms of GM mode. Let's keep building upon it. Thank you. All right, friends, let's get into some movies. Let's get into some movie reviews. We are going to be talking about Deadpool first, and then we'll be going into our other one later. We are going to cover this full review, spoilers, non-spoilers, spoiler review, whatever. We are going to do a non-spoiler review first, so if for some reason you guys haven't seen Deadpool and you don't want to be spoiled, and you care, no worries. I'm going to give you a hard cutoff of when we're going into spoiler territory so you can duck out, check this back out at your leisure later, and you can join me in the comment section below and we can talk about all the fun stuff. So no worries there. So let's talk about Deadpool. All right, non-spoilers. Deadpool was a really fun time. I had a blast with this movie. Obviously a lot of interesting elements going into this movie with being a rated R film, keeping with that of the Deadpool stuff, being a Disney Deadpool movie. And yeah, just a lot of questions of like, how's this movie going to do? Are they going to do it justice? And I think they certainly did. This is just a continuation of, what the Deadpool movies have given us. I've enjoyed Deadpool 1 and 2. Granted, it's been a while since I've watched both of them. I do remember enjoying the first one quite a bit. The second one I liked, but it felt more of like a rehash of the first one. But granted, this could just be my poor memory. I don't know. I don't remember a lot of elements from 2, but this one I feel really just nails it. And I know MCU lately with phase, what are we on, 5 now? 4 and 5, it's been very hit or miss, very divisive. And that could just be the high bar that we set, obviously, with wrapping up Infinity War, Endgame, blah, blah, blah. All that jazz. It's hard to keep that momentum after because the bar is set so high. It could just be that. But I think this was a step in the right direction. Whether it's technically going to tie into anything in the main stuff, I don't know. But I really enjoyed what this film had to offer, and I think it's a fun time. You don't need that connective tissue with the rest of the Marvel movies, so if you just want to go in and have a fun time with it, will you be rewarded in some aspects? Yes, of course, certainly. But I think you could just go in there, have a lot of fun with it. It does have, being rated R has the violence aspect to it, has the jokes, some very over the top, but it's been a blast. So there's the non-spoiler stuff. I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking with people who have seen it and just hearing them gush over what they loved about it. It's been a blast. I've had a lot of fun with it. And now we are going to get into spoiler territory, talking everything about this movie, or at least, just no holds barred. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, this is the time to duck out. I will give you 3 seconds. Uno, dos, tres. Wow, this one's not a joke this time. Did you believe that Superman was in this movie? Henry Cavill showing up. Holy shit. All right, so Deadpool, insane. Obviously, we had a lot of... we had a lot of cameos in this movie. A lot of crazy things we didn't expect to see. And leading into the film, we had a lot of speculation, I guess you could say, of like who's going to show up in this film. And I think this movie delivered on a lot of those cameos and surprisingly kept quite a few of them secret, which is quite a surprise for, you know, the scale of the person. Now, maybe I'm just talking from my experience. I saw nothing. No spoilers or anything like that. I only saw X-23 in that second or third trailer, which I was fine with. But outside of her, I didn't see anything, which I appreciated. I saw everything like after I saw it, and that could have just been, you know, checking which part of X I'm looking at or whatever it is. But very fortunate I didn't get it spoiled for me, and it just really added to the experience. So let's just talk about the cameos. I'm sure there's definitely certain ones that I am forgetting, so chat, if there's anything you got, let me know, and comment section, let me know as well. Okay, so non-character spoiler or cameos. So I did want to have the comic with me, but sadly I do not. But we did have the Secret Wars comic, which we saw in the initial trailer. We did have the helicarrier in the background. We had an old Fantastic Four vehicle. We had the Fox 20th Century logo in there. Characters. We had Happy Hogan. We had Thor, question mark. We had Hulk. We had OG Brown and Yellow Wolverine. We had Short Wolverine. We had Days of Future Past Wolverine. We had Patch. We had Henry Cavill Wolverine. We had Captain America? No, we had Human Torch. We had Sabretooth. We had Toad. We had Pyro. We had Azazel. We had OG Juggernaut. Lady Deathstrike. Ant-Man being dead. Odin's Throne, question mark. We had Eliath. We had Handsome Deadpool. Scarlet Witch statue from Multiverse of Madness. We had Elektra. We had Blade. We had, I'm about to make a name for myself, Gambit, Channing Tatum. We had X-23. We had the Punisher mentioned. We had the Sling Ring from Doctor Strange. We had Lady Pool. And we had the Wolverine mask. Holy shit. So many. Very fun to have. We had seen, which I think led to the speculation of cameos, we had seen in the initial trailer some of the villains that were going to be making an appearance here with OG Sabretooth, with Toad, with some of the original X-Men characters that people were kind of finding in the trailers and picking apart. It was cool to see a lot of these people make it back, and I think it was genius in terms of how the story was told. It wasn't just like, let's throw it in there. It made sense. It made sense for the story they were telling, and having Deadpool get involved with the TVA, using that to have this freedom to play around with the different characters, with the multiverse, you know, stuff going on. Let's take these characters from Fox. Let's take these characters from, not Sony, but, you know, I guess other Fox stuff. Take those characters that we're not going to see again because the movies are, one, old, and two, different continuities. Take these characters, throw them in there, have some fun with it, make jokes at Disney buying Fox, as we saw with Deadpool at the TVA early on. Like, have these fun moments just for people who have been with this, like, superhero movies since the 2000s, you know, when we tried to do this resurgence that kind of kicked off what the MCU would be with those original X-Men films and Blade, and reward those people and just have fun with it. And I think it was great. It added that element to it. I know some people are like, they just relied on, you know, the surprise factor and the gimmicks of it. And to those people I say, yeah, okay, but also, can you enjoy things, please? Like, who cares? Really? Like, we're not making cinematic masterpieces here. We're making a fun experience for people to enjoy. And it's not like the story didn't have a plot. and substance behind it. It did. Do I think it was the best thing ever? No. But it did have a decent story with it. We just had a lot of fun along the way. So it was very rewarding to see these things. Cool to see Elektra back. Cool to see Blade back. Seeing Gambit for the first time. You know, obviously that's been a rumor for a while. And when that rumor was going around that Channing Tatum was going to be Gambit, personally, I was not for it. But seeing him here, probably with a lot of people, were like, damn, they did a really good job and showed respect to the characters. Now I'm just going to cut to this quick because we're talking about them. I know I'm jumping all around. Hope you didn't want a very in-order synopsis here. I'm glad they kind of respected these characters too. You know, it was not a multiverse of madness thing. Now, I'm not saying that movie did it wrong. We already go back to that Marvel Plus episode. I enjoyed that they got wrecked by Scarlet Witch. It was needed. It was needed to make her threat. It was a woohoo, and then, oh fuck, we're screwed. We needed that. It worked there. I'm really glad they didn't do that again here. I got scared when we got to Cassandra Nova's little Ant-Man base. Like, oh, they're all setting up for a fight, and we're just going to go, boop, Cassandra's going to rip them apart. No, thank God. We got the moments with them, and Channing Tatum did fucking awesome as Gambit. He's got the bow staff. He's got the kinetic charge with the cards, flipping and dipping around. Looked great. Could we have done some more with the other three? Yes. But Gambit got his moment, damn it, and it looked cool. X-Men 97. I'm wearing this shirt. Anyways. Those cameos are really cool. I appreciated seeing the old X-Men villains, you know, R.I.P. Sabretooth getting his head decapitated immediately by Wolverine. That was a little sad. But just cool to have them around. And like I said, it made sense because they were all, Purged? Not Purged. I don't remember the TVA, what the sticks do to get them to where the trash heap of Eliath is. But it was like I said, it all logically made sense. Oh, yeah, that multiverse doesn't exist anymore. Let's throw them in there. It's a fun way to throw those elements in. The Human Torch thing, brilliant. Just the suspense building to that moment. Sorry for banging on the table. The suspense building to that moment. Awesome. You get Deadpool and Wolverine get purged, for a lack of a better term, because I can't think of it. They get thrown in the trash dump. Oh no, bad guys are coming. You hear a voice out of the side or out in the distance. You better watch out, they're coming. And me sitting there in the theater going, no, it can't be. It can't be, right? You see this hooded figure jump down to the ground, superhero landing, and I'm like, oh my God, okay. They just got somebody who sounds like him. They're gonna keep the hood on here. It's gonna be Cap, and we're not gonna see his face. Chris Evans is done. He's not coming back. And then he takes the motherfucking hood off. Chris Evans with the beard. We all freak out. Deadpool's freaking out too. He's gonna say the thing. He's got the red glove on the side. Sneaky. He's gonna say the thing. Bad guys show up. A little monologue. Okay, we're gonna kick their butt. And then, flame on! And here comes the torch. Oh, just so rewarding. Like, it was just so much fun and enjoyment and, like, silly. Yes, silly overall. But it's stupid. It's comic book movies, right? Just so much enjoyment in that moment there. Would have been awesome to see Cap? Yes, of course. But to have it, you know, wink, nudge, oh yeah, he was also the Human Torch. To have that, to see him in that, very cool. Obviously, we're getting Fantastic Four down the road with the actor who played is it Eddie from Stranger Things? Yes. You know, we're going to see that iteration down the line. But to see this, does he get his shit kicked in by Pyro? Yes. Thought he was dead there. Spoiler alert, he was not. But that was just a fun moment. It was just stupid and giddy. I was just all flustered. It was a great time. Cool to see that. So those cameos are fun. The Deadpool entourage. Okay. I got spoiled probably on this one. We knew Dogpool was going to be in there, that adorable puppy unfortunately voted the ugliest puppy in England or something like that. Cute to see him in there, or her. My apologies. Handsome Pool, I got spoiled on. Thanks, Marvel Snap. That was just silly. To see the rest of them, in my opinion, that was probably like, yeah, low point. You know, fun. We got to see Blake Lively as Lady Pool. We only learned about that in the credits. I guess his kids were part of it too. One was Baby Pool, one was Kid Pool. Whatever. You know, a fun family moment. I was hoping for a Gwen Pool there. That was me probably getting a little too greedy. But I didn't. They were just there to get brutally murdered and then regenerate. Not my favorite part, but it is what it is. Cassandra Nova, great as a villain. I don't know much personally about her, but she felt like a threat, you know. So that was nice. I know it's typical Marvel syndrome of like, oh, here's a villain, whoosh, and we get rid of them immediately. I think it makes sense, but she was cool. I liked her powers and how they demonstrated that. Trying to think of what else I want to talk about. Cool to see the different Wolverines in there. Cavill was a weird one, but, you know, just random as hell. Funny they did the short, comic accurate Wolverine. That was good. Yeah, so overall, I had a great time with it. It was just a lot of dumb fun. There's some small details in there, like the adamantium swords. I like how they put that in there, but it was kind of a blink and you miss it. If to explain like how him and Wolverine are fighting, and Wolverine's not just cutting through his blades left and right. I do have a question, and this is just a memory gap, and it could be me from like my lack of knowledge and recollection of Deadpool 2. Obviously, Cable has the time machine mechanic, right? How did Deadpool get to Happy Hogan to apply for the Avengers? How did he cross multiverses, you know, to get to that point? That was my only hang up of we didn't really explain that. I feel like he mentioned Cable's time machine, but it's a time machine, not a multiversal jump machine. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't understand that, because that kind of set up the whole film of like, oh, he's going to go apply, which I get it, the whole Disney buyout. That's why we're doing that. He's going to go apply. He's going to get denied. Then we're going to go on the go home. Then the TVA thing's going to happen. And we're going to go search for a Wolverine, right? I get that. Okay, fine. Just that one hang up of I didn't understand how that. And it could have just been me. Could have been a disconnect. Who knows? So yeah, great time overall. There's a lot of news we could chat about, and I'll briefly touch on San Diego Comic-Con news and Disney D23 stuff in terms of Marvel. There's a trailer for Thunderbolts. There's a trailer for Daredevil Born Again. We're ditching Kang. Way to go, Jonathan Majors, being a piece of trash, dropping him like nothing. So we're not doing the whole Kang thing, so now we got to steer that away. Kind of wish we just recasted. We got Robert Downey Jr. being fucking Doctor Doom. Okay, I mean, cool. I'm curious, and I wanted to talk about this and have the comic book issue with me, but is that why they put the Secret Wars issue in there with Deadpool in the Eliath area? Is to kind of hint that Doom was going to be taking over. I don't know. If so, clever. I did read that storybook line years ago when it first came out, but I do not recall what happens. I know it does center around Doom quite a bit, but I'll definitely need to revisit that. And then we got the trailer for Captain America Serpent Society? Looks cool. We got Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. Question, though, for the class. Sam Wilson, Falcon, doesn't have the super soldier serum, right? How's he throwing the shield so hard? That's my question. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. But a lot of cool stuff coming out of San Diego and D23. People are excited again. Hopefully we can keep that going. I think we're relatively close to Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, and Secret Wars. I think that's 26, 27, 25, 26. I don't remember. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of news of those things going forward. We'll certainly be chatting about MCU stuff going forward as well. But Deadpool, had a great time. Definitely had a great time. Moving on to our last topic today. One more movie review. We're going to be talking about Borderlands. Hey! Talking about a review for that. If you have any interest in this movie, once again, non-spoilers first. Then we'll go into spoiler territory. It was... to be honest. This movie was okay at best. Very disappointing. I think that is the basest of non-spoilers I can get. You might have seen the Rotten Tomatoes 0%. You might have saw a lot of bad reviews going out there. I don't think this was the worst thing ever. I just think this was, in terms of the low bar, because I was hoping, we're still non-spoilers by the way, in terms of the low bar that was set for me, I was hoping this was going to be a Morbius situation for me, where I didn't see Morbius right away. Everybody's shitting on Morbius. Everybody's making the memes about Morbius, right? It's Morbin time. All that stuff. Then I watch it when it comes to streaming services. And then I go, you know what? It wasn't that bad. Was it bad? Yes, but it wasn't that bad. There were some things I liked. I don't know if I liked anything out of this. And that sucks to say, to be honest. You know, I'm not the biggest Borderlands fan, but I have enjoyed all of the games. I've played 1, 2, and pre-sequel all the way through. I've played 3 like 95% of the way through. Tiny Tina's I've dipped my toe in, and Wonderlands. But I've enjoyed this game series for a while. And to have this come out and just be a whole lot of nothing, it was like, ugh. The only good thing out of it was I hung out with some family and really bonded, and that was great. So let's get into spoilers, shall we, for Borderlands. Yeah, so 3, 2, 1. All right. Yeah, this not great. So let's talk about this. Oh, boy. All right. So we knew going into it. Weird cast, right? All right. So what they tried to do was take the Borderlands story and take little elements from 1, little elements from 2, maybe even 3, pluck these, throw it in a pot, and we're going to make something out of it, right? Cool, fine. You know, you don't want to just copy-paste story from this medium to this medium, because then it's not going to be entertaining for people, right? Now, granted, just because it's another video game adaptation, The Last of Us from HBO, that's kind of a copy and paste from the game to the show. However, the show builds on a lot of materials. You get the Bill and Frank episode, which grows the narrative and the story of Last of Us and really improves on those characters. Like, in my opinion, Bill was like, hello, I'm here. I trap everything, and I'm, crazy. To like, you just see him, and then you're like, bye, thanks for the car. And then in the show, that episode really makes you care about Bill as a character and like adds a whole nother layer of suffering and like doubt and down feelings once you learn more about him, right? Adds that connective tissue. Borderlands doesn't do anything there. They try and make their own thing, and it's too, I think the problem here is it's too, like the phrase says, too many cooks in the kitchen. And I don't think there's cooks. I think there's too many elements in the kitchen. There's too many ingredients. We tried to throw this in. We tried to throw this in. We tried to throw this in. And none of it really elevated anything. So in terms of characters, from Borderlands 1, we have Lilith, Roland, Moxie, Tanis, Marcus, Claptrap, and General Knox. Okay, cool, whatever. Then from Borderlands 2, we got Krieg and Tiny Tina. Okay, not characters that we play as, except for Krieg, who's DLC, but not even main characters, right? Borderlands 3, we might have had a villain thrown in there who was kind of just at the end of the thing. I don't know. He could have been somebody from Borderlands 1. I don't know. You get all these elements in there, and nobody really feels important. The story is definitely about Lilith, and it's kind of about Tiny Tina. Their whole plot is, we're going to find the vault, or rather, no, I'm sorry. Tiny Tina's been captured. She's the daughter of Atlas, who's the big bad, the company, one of the gun companies, right? He wants his daughter back. Roland, in the intro of this story, is hired to go save her. He goes to, I don't remember where she's being held, if I'm being honest. That's how bad this was. Some other company has her stolen. He goes, breaks her out, breaks Krieg out of this jail, who's like Tina's protector. He's just a giant, buffed out psycho. And he steals her from there. That's where your plot is. That's your setup, right? Then Lilith gets hired by Atlas to go find Tina through Roland and get Tina back to Atlas. So Lilith goes to Pandora to find them. And the premise is Tiny Tina is the secret key to open the vault. So that's what Atlas really wants her for. She's not his daughter. It's a clone made by Iridian technology. I think I'm following this correctly. Which the Iridians made the vault in the beginning. She's produced by that, and she is going to be used as the hidden key to open the vault, right? She's crucial because you need 2 vault keys and an Iridian person or someone like tied to that DNA tree. I know, hold on. It's stupid. So the whole setup is she's important. Tiny T's important. So everybody's hunting her down, right? So Lilith finds her. Atlas shows up, I think. Hold on. Memory's ass of this movie because nothing was memorable. Yes. And our ragtag group of bandits, not really, vault hunters, all go together. Lilith, Krieg, Tina, and Lilith, and Claptrap, and escape and try and figure out how to get to the vault before Atlas gets to the vault, right? Okay, cool. We're all on the same page. Claptrap, for those of you guys who know Borderlands lore, is the only Claptrap left alive in this movie. They took the Borderlands 2 origin, not really origin, story, and threw it in here as his origin. In Borderlands 1, there were many Claptraps. There was only one of our Claptrap, but there were many Claptraps. Then they all turned evil in the DLC, and then you ended up killing them all. That's why Claptrap was alone in Borderlands 2. You don't need to know that. He's annoying as shit here. Jack Black didn't do a bad job. He's just there to be like, I'm Lilith's protector. I just gotta go and hang out with you and blah. Whatever. So they all run away. They go to Sanctuary. I will say 1+ for this, and I know I'm shitting on this a lot. 1+, there's a lot of locations from the first Borderlands game in here. Pishwash Gully's in there. Firestone's in there. Sanctuary's in there. There's a few others, but I'm blanking. I did appreciate that. Granted, did any of them really matter? Did we spend a lot of time in them? No. We go to Sanctuary. We meet up with Moxie. Now, Moxie's supposed to be this cool, like, badass person. I don't know. We didn't really do that in this movie. She's kind of there, and she's like, oh, Lilith, I remember when you were a kid, and blah, 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 and remember your mom, blah, blah. I don't know. She just was not interesting at all. That sucked. You get this random buddy of Roland who's in the movie for like a minute, who tries to throw him into the bus, but then Moxie helps him not be thrown under the bus. It was a very inconsequential role. I mean, congrats to the dude. You know, get your money. But it was like, Why is this thrown in here? They find Tanis, who's Jamie Lee Curtis. Tanis is weird, but she doesn't do anything. She's just there to kind of help them find the keys. God. The more I'm talking about this, I'm like, oh, this just wasn't great. So it's what they're doing in this is I feel like they're just taking elements, throw it in. Like, here's Lilith. All right, Lilith's important. Roland's important. Tina's important. Tanis is important. They keep adding, and no substance is built to make you care about anybody. And I feel like that's where it really falls flat, because, like, obviously you want to care about the characters you're following in this journey. The whole build, once again, sorry I'm jumping all around, is they need to find the vault keys, right? Okay, we get some cool moments with them fighting off a bunch of psychos in, like, this sewer area. That was pretty cool. The gunplay's good. It's sucky that it's only PG-13, so you can't really have a lot of violence, so it's just kind of like gimmicky, like, oh, the blaster fire, and then, you know, they jump back and like, oh, they're dead. You got that. They find the vault keys. Tina's important, right? And you slowly learn that Lilith's not what actually she thinks she is. She's actually really cool. It turns out they did this switcheroo, which they do in stories all the time, of like, oh, this one person's important? No, actually, it's you. You're the hero. And it's typical movie storyline stuff. I just don't think it delivered because, one, we don't care about the characters because we didn't build any substance with them. Two, and this could just be me, it's a little weird with an older Cate Blanchett getting this kind of moment. Like, typically you have, like, the kid character, like, you were really the one who was important all the time, and then they become, like, they have their hero moment. No offense to Cate Blanchett. I think she's defining the role, and it's nothing to do with her age. She's kicking ass. She's great at what she does. Keep doing you. It just was weird to be like, the kid's the hero. Nope, it's actually this adult. It felt weird to me. So that revelation, and granted, maybe it's just me knowing the story of what Borderlands 1 is. It was like, yeah, that's that. Didn't have any surprise element. So at the end, they get to the vault. Tina can't open it because she's not the Iridian, lineage. Lilith somehow finds it out through learning more about her mom and Claptrap and stuff like that. So she comes in and saves the day. She finally becomes a siren, is able to use all these superpowers of the Firehawk, which they pulled from Borderlands 2. And they fight off Atlas and his corporation. Yippee. They go into the vault. There's the vault monster there. That's where they leave Atlas with the tentacle monster. There's no guns in there. And yeah, then they just all live happily ever after in Sanctuary. Weird. No hints at Handsome Jack, which, I mean, good, because there's probably not going to be another one of these movies. You guys want to know some disgusting stats? Hold on. Let's Borderlands movie budget. Okay. Ready for the grossness, right? This film had a production budget of $110 to $120 million. Not bad. The film received negative reviews from critics and is a commercial flop, grossing $18.9 million. Oh, God. Yeah, not great. Yeah, they didn't do great here. It's a little baffling, hearing that budget number that they did have, or the production number. CGI in this movie, some looks great. I will give it credit where credit is due. The animals and the wildlife of Pandora that you see from here to here, time to time, looks cool. Skaggs looks cool. The rack and there's the crab looking things. Looks fine. A lot of CGI does not. It looks very, you can tell, hey, I'm standing in front of a green or a blue screen. And granted, yes, that's obviously how they do these things. They just could have tried to hide it better or made it blend a little bit better. Yeah. I think, like I said, I think it was just too many elements tried to be put into one. I don't know how they could have done this better. Well, I don't have a defined answer of how they could have done this better. I don't know if it would have been just a more productive thing to take Borderlands 1, copy paste. Open with Marcus on the bus, which I think Marcus and his actor did a great job. He's only in there very limited amount of time, but he was good. Have us open with the Vault Hunters. You could still do the opening monologue with Marcus, or even have Lilith do it as she did in here. Have the 4 heroes, Lilith, Roland, Brick, and Mordecai. Have them in there and have them go on a treasure hunt story. You could still have that. Is it a little harder to have us care about so many characters with backstory during, like, you got to build everybody up? Yeah, that's difficult, but just because it came to mind, let's think about Star Wars. Think about, well, I'm thinking the most recent one with Rey and Finn and Poe, right? You could take any of them, obviously, the original Star Wars. These are characters everybody's being introduced to. But by the end of it, you feel investment in all 3 of them. You know Rey and Finn, at least at episode 7. They have potential to be the Jedi that goes against the bad. And Poe, being this awesome fighter pilot, is the big part of the rebellion, right? You have these 3 characters which to the audience had no history with. You built relationships with them through this 2-hour experience, right? And obviously that continues to the second and third movies, but it's doable. So to now add just one more character and make it the band of 4, I think that would have been possible. You could still have your different elements of Borderlands 1 in there. You could still have a Moxie. You could have your Claptrap. Just don't make them... Just have them be there, like Marcus being there as a facilitator to our 4 heroes. Have Claptrap show up at the beginning. Hey, obviously you're not going to do exactly everything in the game. He could be silly, he could be stupid, but he's just there. Have a Dr. Zed in the background. Have Moxie be a quick little thing, like she was in here, but it didn't really feel like her character. Still have that. You could still have Atlas be the big bad. I'm trying to remember who was the big bad in the first game. It was one of the companies. I am so sorry, I don't remember. Have everything play out there. Just, I don't know. Just do it better. It just didn't connect in this movie, unfortunately. I feel like there was something else I did want to talk about at least with this. Of course, I'm not seeing it in my notes. No, I don't know. The abilities. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. The characters didn't do anything that they did in the game. They were just people here. The whole thing, obviously, it's about guns and they're shooting, right? Characters don't have shields. Shields are introduced at the very end with Atlas. He's the only one who has shields until Lilith supercharges the other characters to have mystical, magical shields. Shields are not a component in this movie at all, or even talked about. Our characters do not have any of the abilities or special abilities that they have in the games, except for Lilith at the very end, once again, when she's Firehawk. She can't do any siren abilities throughout the film. In general, hand-to-hand combat, moment-to-moment combat, I guess you could say. Roland doesn't have his turret. I never played as Krieg as DLC, so I don't know what he did, if he just raged and smacked things harder with his axe. Nothing. So, I don't know. It just... very strange. I don't know what went wrong with this. I don't know if it was not the TLC of the source material, and like looking at that and understanding what they were taking from, and if this was just, hey, this is made money, let's do something with it. I have no idea. just very, very disappointed. Yeah. My review, not great. Talking about it made me sad. Well, everybody, this has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me today and chilling with me for these 4 different topics. If you guys want to catch the podcast live, you can always go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join on the fun and conversation. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, wherever you could support the show, likes, or however you could support the show, likes, subs, shares, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow, so if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Once again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks for your patience on the frequency of these episodes. Hopefully we'll be back to normal starting with this one, but appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you guys for giving this a watch, giving it a listen, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.